I didn't want to have to talk about this guy, to be totally honest, but I feel like I have no choice after what I heard yesterday from him. And I know some of you are not going to be happy about it. I get it. But it's got to be brought up because he is so slick and he is so sneaky in what he is doing. And that is none other than former President Barack Obama, who, if you didn't hear what he had to say yesterday in video that went viral on social media and elsewhere about the Charlie Kirk assassination, you got to see it and you got to hear it for yourself. And I know some of you are going to be like, I know it's coming. No, let's just listen to this together as Barack Obama very smoothly does what Barack Obama does. And that is create great division in a very academic manner, in a very eloquent way that makes him sound like he's not nearly as offensive as he is. But when you see and hear what he's actually doing, it's just as divisive as almost anything else out there. He just does it in a way that's basically the opposite of Trump. Trump's like, bull in a china shop, right? Straight shooter, plain speaker, and he's just going to say it. Obama does this like he's an academic, like he's a professor at Harvard, the way he lays this stuff out. But it's even more divisive in what he's actually saying. You just have to listen to how he's saying it.
Obviously, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was generally aware of some of his ideas. I think those ideas were wrong. But that doesn't negate the fact that what happened was a tragedy and that I mourn for him and his family. He's a young man with 2 small children and a wife who obviously, and a huge number of friends and supporters who cared about him. And so we have to extend grace to people during their period of mourning and shock.
Okay. But he's not done there. Because of course not. This is actually a 9-minute answer from Barack Obama. And don't worry, I will not torture you with a 9-minute answer. But he can't just say that. He can't just end it there, right? He says the pretty words. He says what he knows he has to say. And then he gets into his whole deal about, yes, I feel bad for Charlie. I'll take a minute on that. And now let me spend 8 minutes telling you why Charlie Kirk was a terrible person. And I'm not going to play all of that. But you got to understand, like, Obama knew going into this conversation he was going to be asked about it. Obama does not say anything without carefully crafting and thinking about it. He's a politician after all, right? But this is exactly what he did at this conversation, which was at the Jefferson Educational Society Summit, is where these comments were made. He knows exactly what he's doing and how he's portraying this. He's like, all right, let me say the niceties about Charlie Kirk, young man, family, kids, blah, blah, blah. Very sad. I didn't agree with him. And now let me tell you what I really think. And here we go.
We can also, at the same time, say that I disagree with the idea that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. That's not me politicizing the issue. It's making an observation about who are we as a country. I can say that I disagree with the suggestion that my wife or Justice Jackson does not have adequate brain processing power. I can.
So now think about what he's doing, right? He's read some of the, as he perceives them, highlights of the worst things Charlie Kirk has said, and he's laying them out. and he's going down this road of, boy, it's really sad this guy was killed, but let me tell you all the crazy things I think he said and how wrong they all are. He's not just saying, boy, this is a tragedy. He had different opinions than me. It's really sad for him and his family, but we got to come together. That's not what Obama's doing. He's now, in his own mind, bringing what he perceives to be as the receipts. So that was the ultimate goal here in this 9-minute answer from Barack Obama. And whether you agree or disagree with what Charlie Kirk said on any of those things, you know, his views on them were more complex than just the little line that Obama's sharing. When he was talking about the Civil Rights Act, he was claiming that it led to this permanent DEI-type bureaucracy. Whether you agree with that or not, it's a little more complex than just saying, he thought the Civil Rights Act was bad. Okay, I could play a dozen clips, and maybe I will to end the show, of Charlie Kirk talking about how race should be inconsequential to how you are viewed as an American. And I have another clip that I was watching last night where Charlie Kirk slaps down some guy at one of his rallies who says America needs to be more white. I've got the audio of him slapping down some guy at one of his events who was claiming America needs to be more white. And when it comes to, you know, what he said about Barack Obama's wife and some of those comments that are out there as well, that was in the context of Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson admitting that they were affirmative action picks. They've all admitted that. So if you're admitting that you're an affirmative action pick, then it means that you were partially admitted to whatever it was, college or otherwise, because of race, right? That's what you're admitting when you're saying that you were an affirmative action pick. And Joy Reid is on the record, as are others, by saying they were affirmative action picks. Once again, agree or disagree, but what Obama is doing there is sowing division. He's not doing any unification. Even if you disagree with Charlie Kirk on those things, and you have every right to do that, Obama's answer here is not actually about any kind of unification. It's not actually about bringing people together. It's not actually about turning down the temperature. He's turning up the temperature. When you have a political assassination that has divided the country, if you truly want to bring it down, you do not then start talking about and going off on all the things that you disagreed with that person on. And then starting to make the case, and I could play more of it, but I think you're all done with that audio clip. You don't then start making a 7-8 minute case as to why this person was terrible. But it's sad they're dead. That's not what leaders who are trying to unify do. And don't get me wrong, Trump can do a better job at this too. Okay? But for all the people who say, oh boy, Trump's not a unifier, he's a divider, he learned it from this guy. The difference is Obama approaches it like a college professor. And Trump, he approaches it like a union worker showing up with his lunch pail. That's the difference. Let's go to Wes in Gladstone. Wes, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
And I'd rather hang out with the union guy than the college professor.
That makes two of us, and I think most people in the audience, brother.
Yeah, so I ran across this story on Breitbart yesterday about this, okay? And part of his 23-minute speech that he gave, he started to defend his mass migration experiment, okay? And during that talk, he said about the mass migration, I think George W. Bush believed that. I know John McCain believed in it. I know Mitt Romney believed in it. There's our problem right there, man. And, in that these rhinos were all for it. But that was interesting. But like you said, he wasn't the commander in chief. He was the chef in chief because he kept turning up the temperature, just like you said. His legacy should be hands up, don't shoot. he could have slapped that down and done so much for this country.
You know what his legacy is the destruction of race relations and Donald Trump.
And
that's sorry there, Wes. But that's the legacy for Barack Obama. I talked about this at Rockhurst last week. The Gallup polling shows, and I got civility belled on this and I got fact checked on this, but I was right. Race relations per Gallup polling peaked in Obama's first term. People thought maybe we're finally in a post-racial America. And it went all downhill starting in his second term. And it's been going sadly, it's been going downhill since. And the other thing to me, Donald Trump's never president and frankly, never taken seriously as a presidential figure, if not for Barack Obama. If Obama, to me, was not as divisive as he was, Trump's never taken seriously. But for many people, they were sick of being called names, they were sick of the division, and they said, let's get our guy. Who's our guy? Who's really going to stick it to these people? We tried the nice guy stuff with Romney, and look what Obama did to him. They called him a racist. The binder's full of women stuff, right? Biden did the same thing. We tried to play, Mr. Nice Guy, George W., McCain, Romney, and look what you did to them. Well, you know what? Let's go with a guy who's not so nice and see how that works out. So those, to me, are two of the biggest parts of Obama's legacy, and no one will probably ever write about that when it comes to Obama's legacy, but they should. Because to me, Trump's never a serious political figure without Obama. And also, the sad decline of race relations in America tied directly back, per Gallup polling, to his second term. And that's partially Michael Brown in St. Louis, I believe, and also, as Wes alluded to there, Trayvon Martin.